This is Exposed, the gift of sustainable nutrition. I am with Mr. Robert Epstone, founder of SoleMen Foundation, Indonesia?
SoleMen Foundation.
SoleMen Foundation, Indonesia. Okay, so I came to the house and I saw this very interesting looking building. It's like very different from all the other houses around. And then walk around the area and it's this place is great, but I can see that just by the look of it, it take a lot of work, and I'd like to know who did it and who's behind it. So could you tell me a little bit about, who are the SoleMen?
Well, SoleMen Foundation, it started out by me forming the foundation about 3 years ago, and before I raised any money, I wanted to gain credibility on the island. So I did a barefoot walk around Bali, 535 kilometers, which took 29 days. And every 4 to 5 days, we did medical health checks and presentations to children in villages who'd never had a health presentation or check ever. We kind of react. People contact us and tell us about distressing situations anywhere on the island, and we try and put it right very, very quickly. We came across this situation. There were some people in a hotel, and they contacted us, and they'd been approached by a member of staff about a situation just around the corner here in Bung where there were 29 people living in one house on 1.5 hour with one toilet. It was like the House of Horrors. 7 of the boys were very seriously disabled, as you can see. Part of the problem is scoliosis, where the scoliosis.
Scoliosis.
That's where the spine twists around. There's also cerebral palsy and club feet, and a number of other problems. So we brought food, nutritional food, try and build them up a little bit. We brought our therapists, our volunteer therapists, 3 days a week, and we've got them measured up, and now they have, each child has got a customized wheelchair that fits their own body, and we're taking them off the concrete. They've been lying on the concrete for 10 years. It's amazing how they didn't get pressure sores, but here they are.
When was this house completed?
This was completed only recently, about 3 weeks ago.
So it's very new.
2 weeks ago, yes, and we had the ceremony last week.
Okay.
They moved in about 10 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they just started to move in
absolutely.
here and started living here just about 10 days ago?
Yeah. It's a bit of a battle at the moment because we keep coming back and finding sometimes them lying on the ground again, and we've given strict instructions. Either they sit in the wheelchair or they sit in the bean bags.
You told me earlier they were just lying on the ground
Motionless.
for 10 years?
Yes. Yes.
And did you ask them? Did you ask why they didn't try to do anything? Just leave them laying around?
They just accepted it as their fate. They were being fed at that point 1 portion of rice per day, fairly low-grade rice as well.
Just rice.
Just rice, and we brought food, and they said no, it's not necessary. The disabled ones only need feeding once a day.
Why?
Like animals. They didn't understand. They said, no, the people who are able-bodied need food. They don't need food. So they were starving them. They were much thinner.
So not only they were having all this disability and the case of inbreeding, they were severely terribly malnourished. Once a day and just rice.
Yeah.
And how did you get them to finally feed them properly?
We said, unless we will bring you nutritionally balanced food, and unless the children are fed with this food, and you don't sell the food, you don't eat it all for yourselves, we will not come here again. We just laid it on the line and said, this is not happening. So
the house is amazing. And what are some of the other activities that you try to do?
Well,
to try to teach them, like I hear Pak Chakra earlier were singing and everything, entertaining them.
Absolutely.
Do they get any activities?
Yes, apart from the therapists who come 3 times a week, we have an English guy who's been teaching severely disabled children for 30 years, and he's completing a program in Cambodia at the moment, but in July he's coming back and we'll be teaching them we're using educational toys
Okay.
to teach them various things like building blocks, putting squares into holes.
How are they responding to it?
Very well.
Very well.
In fact, Wyan, who has been, as I say, lying on his back, doing nothing for 10 years, made a very interesting piece of craft. It was like a little sculpture.
Ah.
And that was extraordinary because he can
So
only...
that was the first thing that he's ever
He's
done?
only got the
probably.
use of one of his arms. The other
Okay.
arms doesn't work.
So only one of his arms is working.
So
he's been lying for 10 years and then finally he gets to do something.
And Chakra tells me that Komang actually when nobody's watching and he thinks there's nobody around, he starts singing.
Can you kind of briefly explain how the system works in this house?
Right, so we have all the waste from the house, black and gray water.
Okay, bathroom.
Yeah, black water is from the toilet.
Okay.
But we used to think gray water from the kitchen, but now it's we say kitchen and toilet is the same, black water.
They're all the same.
Yeah,
And the gray water
gray
came
water is from shower, from hand wash.
Okay.
So it's all goes to one system, like a fermentation system.
Okay.
We known as septic tank, right?
Okay.
So it's what happened. All the solid goes there, and through natural fermentation, the solid will be fermented 40%.
Okay.
And then it flow through to, like you see in there, the subsurface flow garden. So what happened then? The gravels and the plants, the roots of the plants will filter the water. Plants will feeding on the nutrient that are in the water, and that's all automatically cleaning the
so
water.
So it's natural filtering as well already.
And then that's it, and then it goes through and then come out to the aquaculture. You can see where we have catfish and tilapia, and they very fast growing fish. So the family could have some protein also. And also, like you mentioned earlier, gurami. We're gonna add gurami.
Because
yes, quite nice. So that's another fish we're going to add. And then, of course, the water from the aquaculture, since it added the nutrient from the fish manure, then it's very good for your garden.
Robert, what's obviously the purpose is so that they can, feed themselves, but what do you expect to actually achieve from this garden, in the long term?
Apart from them feeding themselves, feeding the rest of the community around their neighbours, and then selling food to some of the hotels we're working with, we're building this permaculture garden around the houses as a model, as a sample, and the next step, this is phase 1 of the GSN. This phase 2 is to actually build a training school. So we'll take kids from the villages and we'll train them to do what Chakra's been doing. And then what we want to do is we want to send them out into various different areas of poor communities and replicate exactly what we've got here.
And you also make, those garden little things so that the kids can water them. How can you tell if they're excited about it?
Well, what we do, because we've done similar project also before with many people on a wheelchair. So we just what we do, we along the path, the wheelchair path, that we build like a raised garden, which the elevation, the height is perfect for somebody on a wheelchair, so they can. It must be very great experience for somebody who never gardened before, being on a wheelchair and then
now they
able to pick tomatoes.
You guys both together have been doing a great job with helping these 2 families. Obviously, we can see the result. They have a better home. They're about to have a garden that will support their day-to-day living, and the children are sitting up, not laying on the ground. They're clean, fat, and look a lot more healthier. Let's say somebody wants you to help them make a garden or something, or just learn permaculture from you. Where can they contact you?
Trihita Karana Bali Foundation.
Trihita Karana Bali Foundation. Google that. What about you? Where can people find you?
We're at www.solemen.org or Indonesia SoleMen on Facebook.
You guys want to help SoleMen or just help yourself try to get some information about beekeeping, permaculture, and all that jazz, contact Mr. Chakra. Thank you so much for listening and watching Expose the Gift of Sustainable Nutrition. I'm Karen Manosa. We're out.